Hello everyone, it's Mrs. Bojack. Today we're going to do an art lesson on an artist that we learned a little bit about before we left school. His name is Claude Monet. Claude Monet was an artist who lived in France over 100 years ago, and he invented a kind of art called impressionism. Using as our sample today, it's called the Waterlily Pond, and it's one that Claude Monet made when he was older. You can see the Japanese bridge, which in real life is a turquoise blue color. It's kind of hard to tell that on here, but it's a turquoise blue, kind of bright. So this is what we're aiming for. Okay, so you can see the bridge and you can see the water lilies and the pond, and you can see some of the weeds and the trees in the background. Okay? It's a little blurry because Impressionists were more concerned about light and blending color than about detail. We also have to be looking for these kind of lines today, and Claude Monet likes to use them all. He uses vertical lines, up and down, curved lines, horizontal, and diagonal. Now, to start, I'm going to be drawing the bridge. And the bridge is made of curved lines. Now I'm using my pencil first. These are my some vertical lines. And if you look really carefully at the original picture, you'll see that there's also another handrail behind it and another set of posts. You can add those if you like. I'm going to make the bottom part a little thicker because that's where you would walk. Okay. Now the next part you're going to draw with your pencil are the horizontal lines where the pond is. Now the pond is water, but you want to show the edges. That way we can go ahead and add some weeds and bushes and shrubs on the sides. And it goes back into the distance, and that's perspective, so it's going to look like it's smaller and going back further and further into the picture. Now we have some weeds, and those are your diagonals. And in the background, we're going to add our drooping willow tree. I'm going to put another one on this side. Now I'm doing some squiggles here, and the squiggles are basically little leaves. They don't have to be perfect because we're going to add color with our oil pastels next. Now our lily pads are going to look like this. They basically look like an art palette. And if that's too hard, just make an oval. And then they usually have a lily on the top. And the lily is like a little U shape. And it's usually pointed like that. Okay. Kind of like a tulip. The Monet picture, you will see that he's used mostly cool colors. And I know you know what the cool colors are. Yep, green, blues, and some lavenders, purples, and some very light pinks. Blending, there's a couple different things you could use. The first thing you could use to blend is your finger. You could take your finger and just start to smear. With oil pastels, that works really well. Now you have to have a lot on there, and I'm pressing pretty hard. The second thing you could use to blend is a tissue. Take a tissue and kind of roll it around your pointer finger and smear with the tissue. That works too. It takes off a lot of the pastel. This is oil from your kitchen. And it might not be the same kind as mine, but it just has to be oil. And don't use olive oil unless you ask your mom, because that stuff's more expensive. This stuff isn't. If you're using oil pastel, you can use oil. Now what I did was I put a little bit in a bowl. Not much, just like 2 tablespoons. And I have a little itty bitty brush. Now if you don't have an itty bitty brush, you can use a Q-tip. Q-tips work really well too. And I'm going to start to blend it. What it does, it's so cool. It actually kind of melts the oil pastel and it makes it look, now I'm doing a little bit at a time, so don't try to do the whole thing at one time. It kind of melts the pastels and turns it into a very smooth kind of paint. Now, this is messy, so make sure that you're at the kitchen table or somewhere, or a kitchen counter. If you're doing it at your desk or the dining room table, definitely always for your art projects, make sure that you put something down first so that it doesn't ruin the table or the counter. I'm pressing kind of hard, and you may have to, if you're using Q-tips, you may have to use more than one Q-tip. I'm going to leave my bridge alone because I really like it. The bridge stands out really well. Now, if you're scrubbing and scrubbing going, oh, it's not doing anything, put a little more oil pastel on. I'll do that so you can see. A little bit more. Ooh, look at it. It goes on like smooth as silk. I'm drawing on top of the oil right now. Ah, it like liquefies it. So nice. And again, you can use a regular brush for this too. Look at it. Because most markers are water-based, look how gorgeous that looks. And mine is finished. Ta-da! And again, I'd love you to change it up. I don't want you to make it look like mine or even like Monet's. I would like you. So be unique, be creative. Maybe add a couple frogs or dragonflies or butterflies or maybe a fish floating around in the water. Maybe a snake, garden snake somewhere. And have fun and enjoy.